There is a sentence that followed Michael Jordan for 30 years. In 1990, in his home state of North Carolina, a black man named Harvey Gantt was running for the Senate against Jesse Helms, a senator with a long, ugly record on race. People begged Jordan, the most famous man in America, to endorse Gantt. He didn't. And the line that came to define that silence, a line he says he tossed off as a joke on a teen bus, was, "Republicans buy sneakers too." For 3 decades, that sentence was Exhibit A in the case against Michael Jordan. Proof that he was a coward, a sellout, a man who cared more about shoe money than his own people. He let the moment pass. He let his people down. Case closed. Except, there is a detail that almost never makes it into the story. While Jordan declined to stand on a stage and publicly endorse Gantt,
nothing passes me without my input and my collaboration, which I've always had.
He quietly wrote a check to Gantt's campaign. No press release, no photo op, no tweet, because there was no Twitter, and even if there had been, he wouldn't have used it. He just sent the money and said nothing. And that little buried detail, the public silence and the private check, turns out to be the key to understanding not just Michael Jordan, but a question this whole generation is getting wrong. What actually counts as doing something for your people? The thing you say in front of the camera, or the thing you do when the camera is off? This is a story about receipts, the kind you show, and the kind you never have to. But I want to be honest with you about what kind of story this really is, because it would be easy to make it a comfortable one. It would be easy to say, society got Michael Jordan wrong, as if some faceless they did the mocking. No, we did. Our community spent 30 years calling that man a sellout, a coward, a man who abandoned his people for shoe money, while he was quietly funding the clinics that were keeping our people alive. We got him exactly backwards. And the uncomfortable question this episode is actually about is not, what was wrong with Michael Jordan? It is, what has gone wrong with us, that we mock the ones who do the work and crown the ones who perform it. To understand Jordan, you have to take him at his word about who he was. He never claimed to be a movement leader. Asked about it, he said it plainly. I never thought of myself as an activist. I thought of myself as a basketball player. He looked at someone like Muhammad Ali, who sacrificed his title and his freedom for a cause, and he admired it openly. But he said, that's not me. My arena is the arena. And there is an old school logic to that, one that used to be common and now sounds almost foreign. It says, you are not obligated to perform your conscience for an audience. You do your work, you handle your business, you help who you can help, and you let the results, not the speeches, be the proof of what you stand for. Jordan put it another way. The way I go about my life is, I set examples. If it inspires you, great. If it doesn't, then maybe I'm not the person you should be following. That is a man who measured himself by what he did, not by what he announced. Now, let's be fair, fully fair, because this is where the story earns its honesty. The criticism of Jordan was not crazy, and it was not only made by haters. It was made by people who loved him and wanted more from him. Barack Obama himself, who appears in the Jordan documentary, said it. As a young man heading into civil rights law, knowing exactly what Jesse Helms stood for, he wished Jordan had pushed harder. And he's right that there was a real cost. Jordan was arguably the most influential human being on the planet in 1990. An endorsement from North Carolina's favorite son might have tipped a close race and kept a vicious senator out of office. When you have that much power, choosing not to use it is itself a choice, and that choice has consequences. We should not wave that away. A quiet check does not do what a stadium-sized voice could have done. So this episode is not here to tell you Jordan was a flawless model of conscience. He wasn't. He left real power on the table. The honest question is not whether he was perfect. It's whether the silence meant he didn't care. Because that is the part the legend got wrong. Because here is what the man actually did, most of it without ever asking you to clap for it. In 2010, Michael Jordan became the majority owner of the Charlotte Hornets. the first former player in history to own an NBA franchise outright, and for years the only black majority owner in the entire league. Sit with how big that is. In a league that is overwhelmingly black on the court and overwhelmingly white in the owner's box, Jordan broke into the most exclusive room in American sports: ownership, real equity, the place where the actual power and the actual money live. That is not a symbolic seat. That is owned power. And what did he do with it? He didn't hold a press conference about diversity. He just hired. Under Jordan, the Hornets quietly became one of the most diverse front offices and benches in the NBA. Black executives, black coaches, in the decision-making chairs, not the photo ops. He didn't announce a diversity initiative. He just built a diverse organization and let the roster of names speak for itself. And then, in 2023, he sold that franchise he'd bought for $275 million for around $3 billion. He didn't just get in the room. He won in the room. And then there is the giving. And this is where the word receipts really lands. Michael Jordan has quietly given away staggering amounts of money, much of it for years with almost no fanfare at all. He donated his entire salary one season to the charities of the September 11th attacks. He has been the chief wish ambassador for Make-A-Wish for over 15 years, granting hundreds of wishes to dying children, most of which you never heard a word about. He poured millions into free medical clinics, the Novant Health Michael Jordan Family Clinics, in the poorest, most underserved black neighborhoods of Charlotte and his hometown of Wilmington, places where people had no real health care at all. These are not naming rights vanity projects. These are clinics where a man named Brett Terry sat in a chair and said, out loud, "This place literally saved my life." 10,000 patients in one Charlotte clinic alone. That is the receipt, not a post, not a hashtag. A clinic, in the hood, with the lights on and the doors open, saving the lives of people who will never know or care what Michael Jordan said or didn't say about an election in 1990, because they were too busy being alive because of him. And here is the thing about all of it. He didn't need to show you these receipts. For most of his life, he didn't. The check to Gantt, the wishes, the early giving. A lot of it only came to light years later, almost by accident, dug up by reporters rather than announced by him. He wasn't building a brand of caring. He was just doing it and moving on. That is the old school model in its purest form. The work is the point, and the credit is irrelevant. He had the receipts the whole time. He just never thought he owed anyone the proof. The receipts. First former player to own an NBA team, Hornets, 2010. For years the only black majority owner, owned power. Quietly built one of the most diverse front offices/benches in the NBA. Hired, didn't announce. Bought for $275 million, sold approximately $3 billion. Giving with no fanfare. Entire 9/11 season salary. Make-A-Wish chief wish ambassador 15+ years, hundreds of wishes. Free Novant clinics in underserved Charlotte/Wilmington. This place literally saved my life. 10,000+ patients. Much of it surfaced years later via reporters, not announcements. He had the receipts the whole time. Never thought he owed you the proof. Now turn the mirror to today. Because somewhere between Jordan's era and ours, we flipped the entire thing on its head. In Jordan's world, you did the work and the proof was optional. It existed whether or not anyone saw it. In our world, the proof has become the work. If you didn't post it, it didn't happen. If you didn't put the black square up, you don't care. If you didn't make the statement, release the graphic, do the speech, you're part of the problem. We have built a culture where the performance of caring has quietly replaced the doing of the thing, where a person who posts the right infographic and attends the right protest for the photo can be celebrated as an activist, while a person who quietly funds a clinic for a decade and says nothing gets called a sellout. We have it exactly backwards. We started grading people on their announcements instead of their actions. And be honest about who we is. It is us. It is me and it is you. We are the ones scrolling, deciding in half a second who the good people are based on whether they posted the right thing this week. We are the ones who will praise a celebrity for a single statement and never once ask what they built, and in the same breath dismiss a Jordan, a man with a lifetime of receipts, because he didn't perform his heart for our timeline. We trained a whole generation to understand that the appearance of caring, loudly and publicly, matters more than the quiet, costly, unglamorous work of actually helping somebody. We rewarded the show, and then we acted surprised when the show was all we got. And let's be careful and precise here, because this is the part people get wrong in both directions. The problem is not posting. Visibility is real power. A camera pointed at injustice has changed this country more than once, and saying the true thing loudly can move millions. Speaking up is good. The problem is the substitution, when the post becomes a replacement for the work instead of a spotlight on it, when the hashtag is the entire contribution, when the statement goes out and nothing, materially, follows it. A black square on your feed did not feed anyone, hire anyone, heal anyone, or build anything. It might have pointed people toward something real. And if it did, beautiful. But if there's nothing behind it, it was a costume, not a contribution. The performance feels like activism. It scratches the same itch. It gets the likes. But the clinic stays unbuilt. We have to be honest about the difference between looking like you care and doing something that costs you. Because that is the real dividing line. Not loud versus quiet, but cheap versus costly. A post is free. It takes 10 seconds, and it can make you look like a hero by lunch. Hiring people, funding clinics, writing checks with no name on the building, mentoring a kid nobody's filming, owning the business and putting your own people in the room. That costs money, time, risk, and years, and it often earns you nothing back, not even credit. Jordan's model was the costly kind that looks like nothing, because it happens off camera. Today's performance is often the cheap kind that looks like everything, because it's engineered to be seen. And a community that can't tell the difference, that hands its admiration to the loudest instead of the most effective, is a community that will keep getting performed at instead of built for. The applause goes to the show, but the people get helped by the work. And the work is usually quiet. The flip, Jordan's era, do the work, proof optional. Our era, the proof is the work. If you didn't post it, it didn't happen. We grade announcements over actions, backwards. Careful line. Posting isn't the problem. Visibility is real power. The substitution is when the post replaces the work, when there's nothing behind it. A costume, not a contribution. Real line equals cheap versus costly. A post is free. Hiring/funding/building costs you and earns nothing back. Applause goes to the show. People get helped by the work. And the work is usually quiet. And here is the proof that this was about substance and not just shyness. When Michael Jordan finally did decide to speak, the substance came with it. Every time. In 2016, after a wave of police shootings, the man who supposedly never said anything wrote a public letter. I can no longer stay silent. And he did not just tweet his feelings. He attached $2 million to it, split between the NAACP Legal Defense Fund and an institute working to build trust between police and communities. And he was careful, in the same breath, to honor both Black lives and the police who do their jobs honorably. In 2020, after George Floyd, he and his brand committed $100 million over 10 years to racial equality and education. Notice the pattern. Even when Jordan stepped to the microphone, he never let the words travel alone. The statement always had a check stapled to it. He never learned to do the performance without the substance, because to him, the substance was always the entire point, and the words were just the receipt he'd finally decided to show you.